Are we reading?
You can read it out loud.
Oh.
Yeah. And I kind of let them decide that in their group. And usually somebody takes over and says, okay, I'll read the first paragraph.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go from there.
All right.
In the early 1800s, the United States needed room to grow. The problem was most people lived in the East. The cities were crowded. New land was expensive. Young families couldn't afford to buy farms.
As a teenager, I went to Scotland to study. We're doing sentence by sentence here.
Good.
He became a mechanical engineer.
And that's what they do as well. I mean, they naturally do that with their groups. Oh, I'll start reading and I'll do the first paragraph. And then other groups you go to, they do it line by line. And yeah, it's kind of nice.
Some animals' adaptations prevent other animals from eating them. Larger animals choose something else to eat. Even plants sometimes protect themselves in this way. Roses and acacia trees both have dangerous thorns. The thorns prevent animals from eating their leaves.
Good. And have you found any text structures in here?
Seeing descriptive words.
Yeah, especially in these paragraphs here, they're talking about the different plants, and then they talk about monkeys and giraffes. And how about in that top paragraph there, the first couple of sentences there? Yeah, and that one's kind of hard to tell between problem and solution. With, they need to be able to survive, so they have to adapt.
But it is.
How are we doing here?
Well, we're wondering if we're on the right track.
I think this is description because it's
Yeah.
telling all about what a narrative is.
And then
Yeah, and I'd have to agree with that, it describes the narrative. And then down here it describes the expository. Yeah, and in that first paragraph, though, what did you notice?
comparing.
Yeah.
The difference.
Especially that contrast and how they're very different.
Yeah. Well, and actually, through the description, they are comparing to show the contrast.
Yes.
How this one's different.
Yeah.
Well, what about settlers rode in wagons or in horses? They followed long, dusty trails across hot plains for thousands of miles.
All right, will you pause, please? Please pause. It looks like we've each found at least one example of text structure in what we were reading. So now you need to be prepared to report out to your group. So talk amongst your partner here that has the same thing. What are you going to point out? What are you going to talk about? What should the group members underline, and what will they be labeling? Pick one of the structures that you can report out to your group, and I'll know you're ready when you head back to your original tables.
The time order, minute number.
Yeah.
I think we got them all.
And I encourage them just to write, it at the top and then like circle all the different dates as you kind of go down.
Okay.
But yeah.
It works. Yeah, that makes sense.
Wow, and you're finding a lot more than I even. Yeah.
I'm so happy with that one.
Michigan. I know. Oh, Dearborn? No. Dearborn? I don't remember. Is that? Yes. Yep, so head back to your groups and we'll start with student 1. Share what you found and then go around your group.
Okay, so we gotta go back. Thank you.
When I like how polite people are being and very respectful I like those words that you're using. All right, so let's have student 1 start and share with the group. What did you notice? What should they underline? And what should we label for the text structure? Share at least one per page.
One per page. So, the first paragraph, we said it's compare and contrast because it compares narrative and expository. The differences between these two kinds of facts is what we have underlined.
Oh, yeah, because in that last sentence there, that signal word differences. Good. And how about student 2? When you're ready.
Article, and there are two more paragraphs. There's a paragraph that has quite a bit of description around narrative, and there's a paragraph that has a lot of description around expository. And so we used also a kind of descriptive text structure, and it's through the description that allows the reader to compare and contrast.
Very good.
Oh, the whole, as a whole.
And student 2, when you're ready.
So we read about science.
Oh, and that's right. I did ask them to give a summary first. I forgot. So they did. They gave a little summary before they pointed out the clue words.
Problem solution, he said he could not find work as a mechanical engineer, so he worked for the railroad. So that the problem was he couldn't find work, the solution was he worked for the railroad. And that's on paragraph 2. It says, he could not find work as a mechanical engineer, so he worked for the railroad. Never locked it.
Nice job. So you found a couple
Problem,
different structures in
solution.
there.
Lots.
And I forgot, one of the things the students did before they started was they gave a little summary about what
Okay.
their paragraph was
Okay.
about.
Oh, well, my little article
So-
was about Elijah McCoy and his inventions.
He's an African American.
Yeah, he's African American, lived in Michigan.
You have just made up some you're giving us nonfiction signposts.
Yeah, and when she mentioned that earlier, I was like, oh, I would like to take a look at that. See what they are.
Because they could better understand what's going on, knowing that it's going to follow that structure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's why text
I
structures
like
are so
the
important.
summary too, because especially if the content entices them, it like adds that passion to the reading.
Yes. And so then as we move on to finding main ideas and details and note-taking and writing summaries, we'll go back to these passages and use some of them for that, and then they can do their writing on the back. But for today, I'll know you're finished when you pack that in your reading binder and you select some nonfiction to read and complete this exit slip. So then we've already talked about the text features and taking notes while we're reading. So then this is their independent work that they do.
You can get all this done in an hour now?
Look at her.
Did I go over my 15 minutes? I don't even know how long it took. But yeah, so then that's the completely independent. And a few kids will bring their own nonfiction, but most of them just take them off the shelves and just borrow them for the day. And then fill that out.
Or just enough books for the kids to, they don't have enough.
Good. Oh, I'm glad you went on to sample 5. Good. But I'll know you're finished when you go back and you put these things in your binders, and then you get out your book that you chose to read and you fill out your exit slip as you're reading today. So then they go to the independent choice work at their desk.
I'm wondering, right?
Very good.
Do you,
Yes.
I gotta wait till one moves. Do you always give them the exit slip?
No. No. Some days it's part of our English department. We need to do them once a week, and we also are doing read alouds typical for English and reading. We do those once a week as well, and at least in one class. So I do them frequently, but not always. And they're usually not this detailed, this one actually, but I gave them like 20 minutes to read. So most of them were filling this out as they read. And like yesterday, they had an entrance slip, and it was one question. And it was a review of what are the text structures, and how does the reader use them to adjust their thinking while they're reading informational text, to see if they could recall these and
Do your kids have
talk
student
about
numbers?
just. Yes.
I noticed. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'll get to that later. But I stole a really good idea when we were doing classroom learning labs, and I got to be a teacher, not a host.
Oh.
And the teacher had like exit ticket assigned student numbers, like just your calendar numbers you could use. And I guess if you're going to Pinterest, somebody said they had all kinds of ideas. So I went back and took her idea and did my numbers and my classroom colors, and then I went to buy one company and bought like a ticket. And my kids, what they did is in her classes they had to write it on a post-it note.
Oh, okay.
And then as they walked
Put it
out the
up on
door,
the door.
they put it on
Put
their
it up
student
for
number.
number. Nice.
And I was like,
Nice. Good.
And so, they don't, yeah, that was the norm. That's where you are. Yes.
All right, we have 2 minutes left in our class, so be sure your packets got in your binder, and front person, you're in charge of grabbing the binders and putting them back on the shelf. And save that exit slip for me, because you need that as your ticket out the door. Thank you.
So, you know what I think? I think let's go ahead and everybody share a noticing around what you noticed. And, well, how about if I give you a minute to reflect?
As I said.
Yeah, think about a noticing to share, and then think about if you have some wonderings related to just what we observed.
Want this back? Leave that on for now.
Well, I think people are going to ask you
Right, but-
questions, but tonight.
Okay.
And then you'll turn it right on.
So they're red?
Yeah.